thank you all for coming. I can't see all of you, but hopefully you're excited, happy, had a good day. We're going to talk about reporting in Office 365 today. So we'll do a little bit of kind of what's there out of the box, what you can find out of the box, different reports that are available. And then we'll dive into how you can build a custom reporting solution for Office 365. So we'll tie in some Azure, some SQL Azure, some Power BI, some of that. And I'll show you one method I've used to kind of build some custom reporting to pick up in those areas where maybe SharePoint falls short. So if you want this slide deck, as well as the scripts, the PowerShell scripts, some of the SQL scripts I'll use when we get to the custom solution, you can go to this URL on the slides. It's https:/2017-12-CITPG. Just throw in a name, email address, and you should actually get an email if you do it during the presentation. You should get it while this is going on with an email to go download all of the stuff. So before I dive into it too much, just a little bit about me. So I'm down here in Jacksonville, Florida. I actually grew up in Michigan, moved down here about 9 years ago. My wife was born and raised here. She got me to move to Michigan to Florida before I could get her to move to Michigan. I've been working for myself, doing consulting, contracting. It started as SharePoint. My background is SharePoint. I got started way back with SharePoint 2003. It's moved into a lot more just Office 365 in general now. I still do a lot with SharePoint, especially SharePoint Online, just because that is my background, but doing more and more with Exchange, Skype for Business, Groups, Teams, Planner, all of those Office 365, all those different pillars, all those different tools within Office 365. So I've also done some training, some online training for Ops Agility, and then I have a podcast as well. Myself and Scott Hogue host the Microsoft Cloud IT Pro podcast. We talk all about Office 365, dive into Azure a little bit, and cover it all from an IT Pro standpoint, maybe a little bit of end user, power user type. So if you want to learn more about Office 365, we have a half-hour episode once a week. And then I also run the Jacksonville Cloud User Group down here. You can find all of the different URLs to my websites. Stegink.com is where my blog is. Intelligink is pretty static. That's my company website. And then MS Cloud IT Pro Podcast is our podcast. And then my Twitter handle there. I also have 3 kids. They're 5, 2, and 1. So it's about their bedtime. If you hear any screaming, yelling, crying in the background, they're really okay. They just don't like going to bed. So my wife is holding down the fort. It's been a long day for both of us. Our 1-year-old was up at 3 a.m. this morning with a stomach bug. So her and I are both a little tired. If I fall asleep, I don't know, just call me, wake me up. So diving into reporting out of the box. I have a few slides. I'm going to try to do a lot of demos. I get bored with slides. I'd much rather just poke around in Office 365, show you the different reports, show you what's possible with Office 365, with the different reports, where they are, how you can get to them, what you can do with them. There's a certain set of reports that's currently available. We'll start with what you can get to now. I also have a few slides where we can talk about some of where Microsoft is going. They made some announcements at Ignite this year, back in September, about some changes coming to reporting, some new features they're coming out with. So we'll also dive into that a little bit later. There's kind of 4 big areas that I like to talk about when we talk about reporting. First, we have the security and compliance reports. So this consists of things like auditing, what users are doing, email auditing, all those different reports around what's going on in your environment. What are people doing? What are they working on? Are they creating sites? Are they creating groups? Are they doing things they shouldn't? That ties into that second bullet too, the audit log search, which I'll show you this. Everybody needs to turn this on right away when they have an Office 365 tenant. The next area is the protection report. So this deals a lot more with email reports. Are you sending out a lot of spam? Do you have a user that their computer got infected, they're sending out a bunch of spam through your Office 365 tenant? Is there a bunch of spam malware coming into your environment? It gives you all of those different protection reports around email, and then some even around the data loss protection, which is another one. Are users sending out social security numbers? Are they sharing social security numbers from within your Office 365 tenant? And I can't even remember, honestly, why I have the rule bullet point on there. There may be some reporting in there, too, around transport rules. But again, audit protection, data loss prevention are the three big ones under security and compliance. The audit log search, this one I'm just going to show you. This literally will audit everything in your Office 365 environment. It goes from people creating sites and groups all the way down to a user moved a message into a folder in their email box. So that one, again, turn it on right away. It audits a lot of data. There's some really cool things you can do with it. It's not the typical report in the GUI type standpoint where it's pretty charts and graphs, but it's very much reporting on what's going on in your environment. Azure AD is also another one. I don't know how many of you guys have Office 365, how much experience you guys have with it, but Azure AD, I've been surprised how many people go, they have Office 365, you start talking to them about Azure AD, and they're like, no, I don't have Azure AD, I have Office 365. If you have Office 365, you have Azure AD. It runs everything in the background, that's where all your authentication takes place. There's also reports around Azure AD. Are people logging in? When are they logging in? What are they logging into? Where are they logging in from? Do you have a user logging in from Europe and the US 5 minutes apart? You kind of want to know about that stuff. So there's also reporting all around Azure AD and the activity that takes place there. And then there's usage reports. This is actually where we're going to spend probably the bulk of our time. This is where a lot of clients, this is what they're interested in. Are people using SharePoint online? Are they using Exchange online? Did I give everybody OneDrive for Business and nobody's using it? Or did I give it to them and they are dumping all kinds of stuff in there? So there's a lot of different usage reports in the admin center around OneDrive, around Teams, around Skype for Business, around Exchange. That's just out of the box there waiting for you to go to. Microsoft also added some new functionality there that we'll talk about in a little bit. The next thing is the Office 365 adoption preview. Since I can't see hands, I don't know if you have the phone close, Kevin. How many of you know about the Office 365 adoption preview pack for Power BI? Just one? One? Out of how many? Is that the only one there? I could be talking to nobody. Okay. All right, we're going to jump into this. This one's really cool, especially if you guys haven't seen it yet. This is another one too. The name is going to change on this to the Office 365 Usage Analytics. I'm glad for this. It says adoption preview. It can be used for way more than adoption. It shows adoption, but it has uses way beyond that. Every Office 365 admin should have this installed, should be looking at it, using it, taking advantage of this. There's also site usage reports. Are sites being used? How much content are in there? How old are they? A bunch of things, again, around usage of your SharePoint sites. And then the last one is this Office 365 Advanced Usage Analytics. We're going to spend a little bit more time on this one. This is also one of the upcoming ones, but it's sort of out there right now. So I'll jump in, I'll show you what's there right now. You can't actually get it going, it errors out. I submitted a bug report, issue report to Microsoft. I don't know that they've actually rolled this out yet, so we'll see. If I hear anything from it, I'll comment in the meetup and let you guys know if I get anything back from them. So this gets into some of the new and upcoming reporting options. So some of the new ones that are out there now, they added reporting around Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams it's growing. It's where Microsoft is investing a lot of time, so having the reporting around it is nice to see. If you didn't catch it, the Skype for Business client is even going away. Teams is going to replace that. So you're going to want to know what users are doing in Teams, what kind of usage is there. The other one that's out there now is this report reader role. I've actually run into this with some of my clients, where maybe you want somebody to be able to see the reports. You have a team that's responsible for the usage, the adoption of Office 365, but you don't want to give them admin rights to SharePoint, to your Office 365 tenant. They just needed to be able to go in and look at the reports around usage. Back in September, Microsoft added a report reader role, so you can now go into Office 365, grant a user this report reader role, and they can log into the admin center, log into the usage reports, and simply just look at those reports without being able to actually do anything, make any changes in your Office 365 tenant. Again, the Office 365 adoption preview, this is going to get renamed to the Office 365 Usage Analytics. So another thing just to be aware of, if you go install the adoption preview, the name's going to change. It's going to become Usage Analytics. At some point in time, you may even have to go out and find Office 365 Usage Analytics, reinstall it under Power BI. Usage Score is another thing that Microsoft announced at Ignite. It's coming up. I have some timelines for it in a couple of slides here. But the Usage Score is this idea that Microsoft will give you rankings on how your utilization is in Office 365. Do you have really poor usage? You've rolled it out to everybody has access to it, but nobody's using it. Or you've rolled it out and everybody's using it. They'll give you a score based on that usage, that utilization of Office 365. Another feature they're adding to it is they'll let you see usage scores for other companies about your size. So it won't reveal who the companies are, any information about them, but it'll see where you rank against other companies that are using Office 365, have the same workloads, enable as you do, and what their usage score are. Do you have really bad usage? Should it be better? Are you up at the top of the pack? Do you have a really good adoption within your environment? So this is another one coming. And then this advanced usage analytics, I believe is actually supposed to come out in 2018. Again, I did find it the other day. I have some screenshots of kind of what it looks like. So we'll walk through some of those in a little more detail. Secure score, or not secure, I typed it wrong, usage score. There is a secure score in Office 365 too, completely different around security. But this is kind of a mock-up, a screenshot of what that secure, or the usage score in Office 365 will look like, where you can see this is how well we're doing on document collaboration. This is how well we're doing with communication, meetings, teamwork, social collaboration. So it'll tie your usage of all the different features, functionality in Office 365. It'll tie it all together, give you a nice dashboard of how well you're doing with your usage. The Office 365 usage analytics. This is the URL to actually get to it in AppSource, or if you go out to Bing, to Google, and search for Office 365 Advanced Usage Analytics, it should pop right up. So if you go out, download the slides, get these, you can just click on the link, take a look at it. Again, you won't be able to actually complete the install, but you can kind of see the process it goes through. So the idea of the Office 365 Advanced Usage Analytics is right now the current Office 365 Usage Analytics, the adoption pack, is tied to the data about your environment that Microsoft is storing. So by default, it'll have the last 90 days of data around usage in your Office 365 environment. If you want to go older than 90 days, look over a longer period of time, you're out of luck. It makes sense. Microsoft's not going to keep storing your data forever. So they came out with this idea of the Office 365 Advanced Usage Analytics, where they tie a bunch of Azure services together and actually let you pull that data out of Office 365 into your own Azure services. So they use Azure Functions, they use Azure SQL, they have Power BI, and instead of using their Power BI dashboard that will look at the Office 365 adoption pack, it goes in, grabs the data, stores it in your own environment. You get to keep how long you want to keep it, how much of it you want to store, and then you can go in and do all of your own reporting, pull it into Power BI, look at all of that. So at this point in time, they have a nice GUI right on the website. They walk you through getting started. It tells you everything you need. You need your Office 365 admin rights. You have to have an Azure subscription. So it can provision all those different services, the Azure Functions, the SQL database, all of that. You log in, connect to Azure, connect with your work or school account, so that we can go in and actually provision all of those Azure resources for you. Once you have that, you can pick your Azure subscription, you can set a resource group name. So all of those Office 365 analytics all get pulled into your resources within that resource group. Again, it keeps them nice and bundled together. You can see how much you're using from a consumption standpoint, and keep all of that stuff around your advanced usage analytics together. Targeted lets you define some of those Azure resources, what you want your server name to be, a SQL username, password. Up here, if you can see it, the server SKU, so do you want an S1, S2, S3, where you want your servers, and then check availability. Make sure nobody's using your server name, and then click Next. It'll go out. At this point in time, it actually does go and provision all the resources. It creates the SQL database, it creates the resource group. It does all of that for you. And then you get a summary. This is what you're going to do. And you click Run, and it goes out and starts creating everything. At this point in time, it fails. So it gives you some error about it can't go out to the D drive and run a script and finish provisioning it all. Again, this isn't supposed to be out until 2018, so I'm doubtful I'll hear anything. But you can get to here, when you hit Run and fail, you can always go keep retrying it. So you can see if they've rolled it out. Maybe you'll get lucky and you'll be able to actually create it and test it out before they fully roll it out. So a little bit about the timeline. This is the roadmap for some of those things we talked about. There's some other stuff on here as well around the graph reporting. I'm an IT pro. I don't touch the graph. I don't touch the APIs. I let developers do all that stuff, and I stick to my IT pro stuff. Again, some of the groups report, the site usage, those reports are already out. They're available. You can go look at them. Coming this year, Staff Hub activity report. So just a few new reports, not a lot going on in Q4 of this year. But next year is when that usage analytics, the adoption content pack for Power BI is going to actually get GA. The name of it's going to change. Sometime Q2, again, they don't even have advanced usage analytics on here, I think it's sometime in Q2 is when it's actually supposed to come out. There's going to be some reports coming around OneDrive for Business, the same client, some more reports around activity within Teams. So a lot of that, I think secure, or the usage score is also Q2 of 2018. At Ignite, it was a lot of just mock-ups. This is where we're going, but we don't have anything built yet. There's no previews. There's nothing you can look at, nothing you can do. So again, just kind of whetting our appetite for where they're going with Office 365 usage reporting. So again, that's all the slides I have for the out-of-box reporting. I'll go on and jump into Office 365, and we can take a look at where some of that stuff is. So in our admin center is where a lot of those reports will be. Oh, that's going to make me log in again. Yes, let me do that.
Any questions at all?
Any questions?
No questions.
No questions, yeah. All right. Is that big? All right. We'll go down to, we'll split the difference, like right. How's that right there?
That good? Great.
All right. Sounds good. So, reporting in Office 365. There are a few different places to go to get these. They're starting to consolidate them here and there, pull them out of some areas, put them into others. Some of those usage reports you actually can have right on this homepage. So we have active users there. This is one of my demo tenants, so we're not going to see a lot of usage within this one. I'll try to log into one of my clients' tenants too, where they have a lot more users, and the reports are a lot more interesting, so you can actually see what some of those look like. So once you're in here, place you would start is reports. Nice and straightforward. So in our usage reports, they give you a lot of nice graphs here. Active users, again, what are people using? Are they using Exchange, OneDrive, Yammer? Microsoft Teams is one of those that they added in here. And then you can see too, what span of time do you want to go over? Do you just care about the last 7 days? Do you want to go up to the last 180 days? And see what people are doing. So as you go through here, again, some of those ones we talked about, email activity, where you can drill into your email activity, see those users, how many they've sent, how many they've received, which of those they've read, and break it down by the activity, sent versus received versus read, or go in and break it down by how many users, number of users by the different activity types. So how many of them, again, sending, reading, just a couple different ways to look at some of those reports. And then all of these reports also let you export them. So if you want to take the data offline, one of my clients, they're rolling out OneDrive right now, and somebody always wants to see OneDrive. Again, before they had that reader role, I would just go in, export the report, pop it up in Excel, and it will give you, once it loads down here, and it lets me move it up, it'll give you a CSV of some of that data that you exported. So that you could, again, take this offline, do what you wanted to with it. It's an option. And then you can always go back to usage if you want to. Drill around here. Once you're in one of them, something like OneDrive, you can also drop this down, and it actually shows you a lot more than you're going to get right on this usage screen. So you can see here we only have about 7 or 8 of them. But once you drill down in here, you can see things like your Office 365 activations. Who's activating licenses of Office 365? How many computers are they activating them on? As well as mobile phones, Windows 10, iOS, Android. So it gives you those various reports around your Office Pro Plus activations. Again, a lot of your typical ones: Exchange, mailbox usage, OneDrive, some of those SharePoint site usage. How many active files? Do you have how many files versus active files? Do you have a bunch of files out there but nobody's using the site, nobody's updating them, nobody's visiting the sites? So a nice quick snapshot of what's going on in your environment, and then even Skype for Business, PSTN usage. I actually use Skype for Business. I use the PSTN calling. It gives you a list, and it actually takes you all the way over to that Skype for Business admin center where this report is, to show usage, our PSTN usage detail. And I should I'll jump over to another tenant for this one that I actually use PSTN usage on. And I'll jump into that one here in a little bit. And then Yammer, if anybody uses Yammer, Teams, you have all of those usage reports. And this is in that section where, again, I define it as, what is my usage? Where are people, what are people using? Are people using it? And what exactly are they doing? Security and compliance was that other one. And this one, hopefully this will load here in a minute. And while this loads, I'm going to jump over and try to get you one of those Skype for Business usage reports. Reports usage. Here we go. This is the tenant I actually use on a daily basis. Skype for Business, PSTN usage. And verify it. There we go. So here, this is what one of those PSTN usage reports look like, where you can see incoming versus outgoing calls, what phone numbers they were to and from, durations, all of those. So it breaks down all of that PSTN usage as well, so you can see what types of phone calls users are making, even how much time they're spending on the phone. And again, just like all the other ones, you can export this one to Excel as well. And let me see if the other one, security compliance didn't load over here. Let's try it on this one, PSTN usage. Oh, maybe Microsoft broke something. So, security compliance reports don't seem to want to load. There they go. So, this is again going into a lot of those, the rules reports, the DLP reports, more of those reports around securing your email. So, if you have a bunch of transport rules defined in Exchange, do you have emails actually matching those transport rules? What are those top rules that are getting matched? I think I have some in my tenant here that will hopefully pop up. We'll see. I'll let that one go. And then again, rule matches for a lot of these too will let you schedule them. So as you're going in here, if your security department, if you are a medical organization, or you just have a company that has HIPAA compliance issues, you can get reports regularly around HIPAA. So the top rule matches for email loaded. I actually do have, in this one, HIPAA attachment not supported, 37 matches, medium severity. That was sent. I also have received. So again, this is matching some of those rules I have in place for email. I haven't looked at this in a while. It's probably something I should go look at. But then DLP matches as well. So I'll probably have some of the same HIPAA ones pop up in here. Again, sent and received DLP policy matches where it may be social security numbers, driver's license numbers, tax IDs. But some of those security and compliance reports are here. I actually expect this one to slowly go away as they're moving a lot of these types of reports actually over into the admin center, into the security and compliance section. So if you go over to security and compliance, you also have a whole bunch of reports over here that give you a lot more of those dashboards, a lot more granularity, a lot more details around those security reports, the protection reports. Again, before we just saw some of the DLP, some of the transport rules. Here you have those same ones again where you have your DLP policy matches, but you also have advanced threat protection. Top senders and recipients. Again, I'm the only one. You can see this is my work account. I actually have a personal email account in the same tenant. You can see I send a lot more email from this account than I do this one. If I had more users, it would be a lot more interesting. But again, top spam recipients. Do I have one user that's signing up for a whole bunch of mailing lists, free trials, and they are getting a whole bunch of spam, using up a whole bunch of mailbox storage with spam? That one's in here as well. Malware recipients, top mail senders. Do I have one user that is just sending a ton of mail? And these are those where you can create those schedules too. So maybe you do want to know who my top mail sender is on a weekly basis. You can go in, set a start date, create a schedule of when you want those. This one I already have a schedule for. Let's create a new schedule for one. Customize the schedule. That's what I wanted. So again, go in, set that schedule name. Maybe this one I only want monthly for the next year. You can go in and set all of those, and maybe I only want this to apply to certain senders, certain recipients. Within these reports, you can go and set various filters. So, which users are they coming from? Going from email recipients. I'll just click through all of these, save that. I'll send it to myself and finish it. So that's how you can schedule some of these security and protection reports as well. Something you want to look at a little bit more frequently, keep an eye on, especially if you are worried about spam or malware going in or out. All these reports have filters you can apply right in the GUI as well around start dates and end dates. Once you have those schedules, you can go in, manage them. So if you want to delete it early, stop it early, modify the schedule, get it less frequently. This is where you can go in and manage all of those scheduled reports. And then reports for download. Some of the downloaded reports actually take a while to go out and grab the information. This is where you can go in, download those reports that you may have requested. I honestly can't remember which ones are in here off the top of my head. But this is it. When you find one and you request the download, it'll tell you this is where you go to download it. The other one I talked about that's in here is that audit log. So under search and investigation, under audit log search, as soon as you create your tenant, go in here. If it's a brand new tenant, up in the corner here will actually be a link to enable the collection of the audit data. So this audit log search isn't something that's enabled by default. It won't start capturing data by default. Again, I tell everybody I work with, you have an Office 365 tenant, you go in, you turn this on right away. It comes in very handy when somebody asks how a site got deleted or how somebody got permission to a site. The only disadvantage of this is there can be a lot of data to sort through. So I'll go look for myself and all audit activities. And we'll just do it for, let's just do it for the last couple days. And search. Usually, hopefully this will come back pretty quick. There we go. And this will give you an idea of how much this actually captures. So again, this is just me, and this is just for a couple days. And you can see this is even within the span of a few minutes, where I signed into Teams, I uploaded some files, I deleted some messages from my deleted items folder, logged in, initial authorization using a password. I modified a file here in my OneDrive, one of my OneNote documents. Signed into my mailbox. So this is 184 results that it monitored of me doing over just the last couple days. This is everything it monitors. So it goes across files where if you want to see who accessed a file, who checked files in or out in SharePoint, if there was a file that got uploaded to SharePoint or you got an email that it detected malware. Again, the folder activities, who created folders, renamed folders, sharing within SharePoint. This can be a big one, especially with SharePoint being externally available now. If you aren't using a bunch of the conditional access stuff, maybe you want to know who's creating sharing invitations, or even if there's a denied access request, people modifying permissions on site collections in SharePoint. All those site administration activities, exchange mailboxes, new items, copying messages to another folder, users signing into mailboxes. If anybody uses Sway is in there. Azure AD, users getting added to a security group, removed from a security group. Applications, if those get added. E-discovery activities, so everything around your legal holds, creating cases, changing holds within those cases. Power BI activities, Microsoft Teams activities, Dynamics, Flow. So all of these events are monitored once this is turned on in Office 365 for you to go back and look at later if you do have an issue. Another nice thing is you can create alert policies around some of these. So if you want to know when somebody creates a site in your SharePoint environment, maybe you don't want people creating site collections all the time, or you just want to be aware of it so you can keep an eye on it and make sure you don't get some crazy growth in your SharePoint site collections. You can do a new site collection creation, give it a description. We'll just leave it custom here, send this alert when. There we go. And this lets you go pick through all those activities. So you can go pick in here and find the site collection, created a site collection, and even if you wanted to monitor a couple things, created and added site collection admins. And maybe you want for all the users, and it should be sent to myself. You can go ahead and save that alert, and now anytime someone creates a site collection into your environment, you're going to get an email, you're going to get an alert saying that someone created an email. You can always go in here too, again, view those alerts that may get created, you may get prompted about, alert policies. So here's some of the alert policies I have set up that would track some of those activities of someone sharing a ton of files externally or redirecting, sending a bunch of an email forward rule. So again, not your typical reporting in the sense of a GUI, but it's still, in my mind, it's still reporting. It's reporting about what's going on in your environment, what users are doing. Just keeping a handle on your Office 365 environment so it's not growing out of control, users aren't doing things they're not supposed to, you as an admin aren't allowing people to do as much, or not allowing users to do something they shouldn't by giving them too many permissions. Maybe you didn't even realize it, now you're starting to get alerts, so you can go back in and fix it. The other one, any other questions so far? Any questions about any of this? All right, I'll take that as a no. Okay, perfect. The other one I talked about was that content adoption pack. The first thing for that one you need to do is go in and enable it. So we're going to go back to our admin center here, and back to the reports. And if you haven't enabled it yet, you'll have this tile right down here to actually enable the Office 365 adoption preview for your Office 365 environment. Once it's set up, you can go to Power BI, go view that report. The other place you can turn it on if for some reason you don't see it there is under Settings, I think it's Services and Add-ins, Reports. You have this option to make data available to the Office 365 Adoption Content Pack. If you want to keep it anonymous, you can also turn on this option to display anonymous identifiers instead of names in all the reports to help anonymize that data a little bit. Once you have that enabled, all you have to do is go over to, you know what, I have Power BI up here somewhere. Power BI, you can go to Apps, get an app, and we're going to search all of them. Mine showed up right here, the Office 365 Adoption Preview. If you search for Office 365, it's also the only one that'll show up. You click on Get It Now, and it'll walk you through the steps to go out and get that Content Adoption Preview. So you get your tenant ID. If you haven't got it before, this is another one of those that you have to get from Azure. So if you're over in your Azure portal, and look at the properties, I'm not going to go over to it right now unless someone wants to see it. But you get this GUID from the properties in Azure AD to get your tenant ID. You click next a few more times, and it'll bring it into your Power BI environment for you to go and use. It does take a little bit of time from the time you first turn it on to make that data available to creating the app in Power BI or going out and getting the app. It can take up to like 24 hours, I think, before it can pull it in. Usually I've seen it as closer to 4 to 6 hours before it's ready. It depends on the size of your tenant. So it can take a while to actually get to the point where that data is ready. You can go out and install the adoption pack in Power BI. Once it's there, you'll see this Office 365 adoption preview in your Power BI environment. So if I go click on this, this is all of that data that it's pulling out of my Office 365 tenant. So this is where you can see some of the adoption overview. Users getting enabled, first-time users, percentage of active users, and it spans everything. Office 365, you can go down here and look at Exchange, OneDrive for Business, SharePoint. I'm going to jump over one of my clients because theirs is way more interesting than mine is. Hopefully it remembered all my credentials. Workspaces. See adoption preview. Here we go. So this client actually they have about 4,500 users in Office 365. They're using it primarily for SharePoint Online right now, so you won't see a lot around Exchange or Skype for Business yet. But OneDrive, it gives you a lot more details around OneDrive and even some of the geo options that are available around where people are. So again, you can see in their environment, they have almost 900,000 files in OneDrive. Enabled versus active users, so they have about 70% of their users that are actually using OneDrive on a regular basis, or using Office on a regular basis. Of those that have it enabled, I think they only have 13 of those. OneDrive, there we go. Total versus active accounts, that one's not as great. But it shows a lot of those on that high-level dashboard. The cool thing about this is, if you see something you want to drill into more, maybe latest file count here, it'll give you, if you click on any of those, it takes you down into the details of that item and all of their OneDrive for Business usage. So files shared versus files synced versus files viewed, total versus active files, total OneDrive accounts. They're up to about 4,700 OneDrive accounts. I just said 900,000 files. And then across the bottom, you can jump through all of the different workloads in Office 365 that are monitored here. So you get some insights and help resources, an adoption overview, just Office 365 at a high level, number of users enabled versus number of users that are active, product usage. Oh, I jumped down. What they're using across their environment. So I highlighted Exchange. There we go. There's everything. So Exchange, OneDrive for Business, OneDrive for Business files. So this is, again, something that really helps to just get a handle on what's going on in your environment across all of those different platforms, your storage. How much, I think they're up to, 141 gigs of OneDrive files, if I'm looking at that right. Office activations, Exchange usage, Skype for Business usage. And then one thing that's cool about them, they're a global company. So you can go into adoption by region, and it gives you a map of where people are adopting it. So Exchange is pretty even across the board. Most of theirs are pretty even across the board. But you can see OneDrive adoption in Europe and in your locations in South America, India, over in Asia. Zoom into the map and drill into more details where in Italy they are. So again, we're looking at, let's go look at OneDrive. OneDrive's more interesting for them. So there's their OneDrive adoption in those different countries. And you can see, does this actually correlate with the number of users I have there? Or do I have one area that has way more active users than everything else? What are they doing differently? What's different about them so I can help my other regions adopt OneDrive better? So all of these reports are available. The nice thing is you can customize all of these too. It makes the data available. So I can go in and edit these reports and tweak them based on what I want to see. If I want different filters or if I want different data in it, all that data is now available in Power BI for you to use to start building out your own reports within that Office 365 environment. Again, a really high level, I'd encourage all of you guys, it's free. If you have Office 365, if you have the rights to go in and install these, Power BI, they have the free licenses. You don't need to have a pro license of Power BI to create a report for yourself. Go turn this on, install this, and spend some time digging around in this report to see what information you can get and how you can actually use it to help increase that Office 365 usage, or figure out, hey, people aren't getting this OneDrive thing. Maybe I need to spend some more time educating them. But this is one of my favorite reports to go into, drill down and look at all of the details that are there around some of that usage in Office 365. The last one, because I think we're getting close to a good time to take a quick 5-minute break, was the report reader role. So I quick wanted to go in and show this to you guys. Let me go back to my admin portal. So this is a new one that if you go into a user now, I'll use Aaron for his example, look at these roles. You can see that report reader role was added here now. So again, not a lot to show there. I just wanted to highlight it for you guys. If you do have people in your organizations that want to go in and look at those reports, but you don't want to give them those Exchange admin rights or SharePoint admin rights or user management, you can go in and just give them that report reader role, update their user. So now they can come in, they can access your Office 365 Admin Center, but about all they're going to be able to do is just go into those reports tabs and go look at those reports, see how that usage is across your environment. So with that, I will let you guys go take a quick 5-10 minute break, I think you said, Kevin?
Yeah, 10 minutes. Probably good, so
8:40. 7:40. Okay. Yep. 7:40 is perfect, and then we can jump into some of the custom reporting. So we'll come back, we'll look at how you can leverage some of those Azure resources to build out some of your own custom reporting solutions. All right, we'll talk to you in 10 minutes. We'll jump into the custom reporting solution. And, oh yeah, any questions before I jump into this?
Nope.
All right. Okay, before you mute your phone, how many of you guys have used Azure Automation, Azure SQL, any of those tools before?
Well, I see 3 hands.
Okay.
4 hands.
All right, sounds good. Well, we're going to go have some fun with some of those. I actually have way fewer slides for the custom reporting solution because this one's way more fun just to jump in and start playing with and building. So again, we looked at all those out-of-the-box reports. I'm a SharePoint guy. One thing that is missing for me from all of those is a lot of the SharePoint. You get the SharePoint usage. How many files do you have, and how many users are using it? But if you want to break it down beyond that, down to like the list level, or look at how many subsites you have. Another type of usage for some of these is, again, you can see Office activations, but maybe you want to know licenses. Which of your services underneath your E3 are actually enabled? How many people are actually enabled for Exchange Online only, or how many people are enabled for all three of them? You can also do some things in here around Exchange reporting, around mailbox size, folder counts, any of that information you can get to. You can build a custom report off of. So for this custom report solution, I've used these a lot, even beyond custom reporting. The first thing is Azure Automation. So this is, at a very simple level, it is PowerShell in the cloud. It's a way to run PowerShell without having to stand up a VM and run all this PowerShell on a VM. It's more than that. It gets into some of the you can do DSC stuff with it. You can do PowerShell workflows. It's not just PowerShell. You can run, I think Python is the other script you can run in there. So there's lots of options beyond just running PowerShell for Office 365 and Azure Automation, but that's what we're going to do with it tonight. A couple different modules that I leverage when I do it is the Sharepoint PNP PowerShell Online. If you guys haven't used this with Office 365 or with SharePoint Online, go check it out. There are a lot of commandlets here, a lot of things you can do with the PNP PowerShell commandlets that you can't do with the SharePoint Online commandlets provided by Microsoft out of the box. The Microsoft Online SharePoint PowerShell commandlets, you have to do a few tricks to get that into Azure Automation. You actually have to have it downloaded and installed in a Windows 10 machine, zip it up, upload it into Azure Automation. I'll kind of walk through how to do that. And then Azure SQL is where I store all the data. So I use Azure Automation, PowerShell scripts in there, go get a bunch of the information, shove it up into Azure SQL, and then once you have it in SQL, you can just go up to Power BI, connect it to that Azure SQL, and start building some of these graphical reports that you may want to look at. So again, custom reporting solution, we'll jump into a demo. That's all the slides I have for that one. So first thing to do is to find the window that I actually have my all apps. I'm going to jump this one back to Power BI because I'm going to want to end up back there. And we'll start here. So on my dashboard in Azure, if you haven't been in Azure before, this is the Azure dashboard. Azure Automation, all you have to do is go up to New, type in Automation, search for it, and you will get this automation service in Azure that's returned to you. So we can go click Azure Automation, create, and we'll just call this one CITPG, maybe not, 2017-12. Letters, numbers, and hyphens. Just only letters, numbers, and hyphens, right? Start with of course, start with letter. CITPG. There, we'll do that. Give it a name, pick your Azure subscription. I will use an existing, well, I'll create a new one. We'll create a new one for tonight. We'll do it in East US 2, leave everything the same, and click create. And that's all you need to do for your Azure Automation account. And we'll go ahead and start provisioning. This is really nice, especially compared to a VM, because it is dirt cheap to run. Azure Automation, you get the first 500 minutes of the PowerShell actually running for free. So this isn't 500 minutes of the Azure Automation service being created. This is 500 minutes of actually running PowerShell on the service. After that first 500 minutes, it is 0.2 cents per minute after that. So again, even if you have a 10 or 20 minute PowerShell script, it's only going to cost you $1 or $2 to run it. Compared to those VMs where, one, they have to be turned on, and then you're spending probably hundreds of dollars a month just to have that VM on all the time so you can run the PowerShell whenever you want to. So that's been provisioned. Let's just go to this resource and start with a blank one. And you'll see runbooks down here. It creates some for you automatically. Some graphical ones, some PowerShell, a PowerShell workflow. So a bunch of different samples that you can just look at. I usually end up going in and deleting all of these right off the bat. They just get in the way, unless you want to look at them, use them as an example. You can go ahead and delete them, it doesn't hurt anything. Again, they're just tutorials, samples. So the first thing we need to do, just like with PowerShell, is you actually need those modules to work with the various command lines. So if we scroll down here in our Azure Automation account, and you can see modules, it already has a bunch of the Azure ones installed. Azure Storage, some of the compute ones, SQL, but none of the SharePoint ones we want. So we're going to go browse the gallery, and this just goes out, looks at that PowerShell gallery that you can get PowerShell modules for just by doing the install module, find module in a PowerShell session on Windows 10. So we'll go out and search for the SharePoint PnP ones. Here's our SharePoint PnP PowerShell Online. I'm going to close this so it gets out of the way. We can import that one. If we wanted to work with, gotta click OK first. Okay. Let's say we want to work with our users too. We could go out and find Azure AD is not actually included by default. So maybe we want to grab the Azure AD preview, import that one. And the SharePoint Online one, this is the one I mentioned to you that wasn't, it's not out there in the gallery yet. You have the PnP ones, you have a bunch of other PowerShell commandlets that other people have created, but those SharePoint Online ones are still a manual executable, run it, install it. What you can do here is instead of browsing the gallery, you can add a module. I've actually already downloaded it, zipped it up, and put it out here. So again, I just installed the executable, downloaded it to a Windows 10 machine, installed the executable on Windows 10, went and found it in the file system, and then zipped it up. And I believe it's out here. Zipped it up. So this is just that module folder on a Windows 10 machine, just created a zip file out of it. Nothing special, just zipped it up. Now you can go ahead and open that, click OK, and for some reason you have to click OK twice. That's kind of bizarre, but you'll see that's importing now. Our SharePoint PnP one is already available. Azure AD Preview is already available. So now those commandlets are available for us to start using within the different runbooks that we create in our SharePoint environment. Another nice thing that you can use is the credentials. So if you need to store credentials, we'll use some SharePoint Online credentials. I'll go ahead and type in a username, password, another username, or not, repeat my password, make sure it's okay. So I have a credential here that I'll use for SharePoint Online. When I show you how I did the reporting one, I actually used a SQL user there as well to connect to Azure SQL. So now I have credentials, I have the modules installed, At that point in time, I can already just go start writing runbooks. So if I go back into runbooks, let's add a new one. Quick create Sharepoint Online. Again, you have those options here where you can do PowerShell or you can do a PowerShell workflow. If you have a really long-running script, you'll have to do PowerShell workflow. There's some goofy things you have to do there around checkpoints and snapshots and all of that to make sure that you don't lose your spot. Essentially what happens is Microsoft makes sure you aren't going to go out and run a PowerShell script that's going to run for hours and hours and hours and consume a whole bunch of resources from Azure. So they limit you to only using so much memory, only using running for so long, all of that in the PowerShell workflow. I think it's like I think it's 2 hours. It hasn't always been consistent. It's really hard to tell when you're hitting that limit. If you think it's going to be a really long one, do it as a workflow. Look into some of the snapshot or the checkpointing. I don't have any links to that in the resources. If you want it, shoot me an email, go out to my website, hit me up on Twitter. I can put all that up at the end again. And I can send you information around that. So we'll do a PowerShell one, we'll click create. And at this point in time, you get to go start writing PowerShell. So you can do, again, just normal PowerShell here. We're gonna throw our credentials in there. So those credentials you had stored, you can get to under your assets, credentials, SharePoint, we'll add them to the canvas. So this goes and gets those credentials, stores them in a variable, and then you can do something like connect to PNP, I think it's PNP online, URL, HTTPS, credential, cred, and then get PNP site. You don't have the IntelliSense, the IntelliType in the PowerShell panel in Azure. So I actually tend to still write a lot of my PowerShell in Visual Studio Code, in ISE, in one of those normal PowerShell editors, test it all out, and then copy and paste it up here. Again, the biggest difference is you're not going to have this get automation PS credential. On-prem, you just have to swap that out to get the right credential. Once you have a little PowerShell written, you can click on the test pane, and you can click start. It'll save it, it'll submit a request, queue it up, and then hopefully here in a second, it'll start running that PowerShell and give you the output of the PowerShell down in the output pane down here underneath it. So we'll see if I typed everything properly.
Anybody want to zoom in a little? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I forgot to zoom in. Let me...
Good.
Ooh, that was too much. How about that? That's good right there. All right. All right, that's running. We're not going to sit here and wait forever for that to run. It'll come back eventually. You can close this if you want to as well. And when you come back to the test pane, it'll continue running. If there's output, it'll give you the output in that test pane. And you can see if you have errors, if there's issues, if there's anything going on with it. The other nice thing you can do with these is you can schedule. So in the case of reporting, you can set it to run on a daily, a weekly, monthly basis to go and grab that information and capture it into a SQL database. You can also tie it to webhooks. You can trigger runbooks from other runbooks. So you can even do a runbook, like as a function, put one function in one runbook, call that one. It also helps with some of those limits you might hit with runbooks running for a long time. And then once it's been published and running, you can see all the jobs within the jobs link. So I am going to jump over now to one of the reporting ones. I think this is where I have it. Yep. So here you can see there's a bunch of these. I've had a bunch of them that have stopped, a couple of them that completed. There were some issues in here. I haven't fully worked them out yet, but it had to do with a graphical runbook. So in here you can see my runbooks. I have build site index. And this one actually goes through, and I'm going to edit this so it's easier to see. This goes through, you can see I get some SQL credentials, some SharePoint credentials, connect to SharePoint, connect to SQL, go through all my sites, and I actually build an index of all the sites in my SharePoint Online environment that have a URL of sites or teams, and I create a new GUID and assign each one a GUID. One issue I discovered with SharePoint Online is there is no unique identifier for a site outside of the URL. So there's GUIDs that get assigned to the site objects. They're not unique. It has to do with the way fast site collection creation works in SharePoint Online, that there is no unique GUID. So I created my own, where it was just an ID and a URL, so I could actually use a GUID as an ID, as kind of that primary key for my site collection, or for all my sites. And then I actually created another runbook that's my reporting runbook. And if we go in and edit that one, you can see same thing. I go out, connect to my tenant, get some credentials. I did create a couple functions in here. One to get the site collection size, one to get information about SharePoint lists, another one to get some stats about a site collection, and then down here is the bulk of it where I go out, again, connect to my SQL database, use those credentials, and then go through all the different sites in my environment, get the information about it, write it off to a SQL database. All these scripts are in those resources you can go download, so you can look at them, dig through them, see exactly what's going on in them. And then this is the one that I actually had some issues with, where this is just a graphical runbook, and this one, in theory, should go out and build the site index, then after it builds the sites, go run the reporting one, and get all that reporting data. Unfortunately, that was throwing some errors, and I wasn't able to figure out exactly why that throws errors. But that's how you could kind of chain a couple of these workbooks together. You can also create parameters on these different runbooks. So if you do want to pass in parameters when you run them, or if you call them from another runbook, pass in a parameter, that's an option as well. So that's just what I had there. And then I did create a schedule on this one too, where you can go out, it gets the daily SharePoint stats, again, start date, end date, if it's recurring, how frequently it runs, if it expires or not, and then what runbooks are actually linked to that schedule. So that's where the bulk of it happens. I also have that SQL database out here. It's just, there's nothing special about SQL. It's Azure SQL, you can connect to it. If I can find it, I think it was in this one. So it's just a SQL database. You can connect to it with SQL Management Studio. You can connect to it with Visual Studio Code. Any of those, I can't remember. I don't even spend much time with this in the UI, if I can even see the tables. This has a couple tables in it. It has some for the sites. It has some for the SharePoint lists. Again, you can look at the scripts. The SQL scripts are also in the resources to actually run and build out the SQL database for the reporting. So if you have the PowerShell scripts, the SQL scripts, you should be able to just build everything and have it all work. If you have your tenant, your environment set up, update some of those credentials, do some of that. So if we go back, and then the final piece of it is Power BI. So I'm going to jump back over to this one. I'll make it, remember to make it bigger this time. Expand that out. So this SharePoint on, no, I'm going to use the Collab 365 reporting, is the custom report that I built. So you can see site growth as I'm adding documents. I can actually see the different site titles, filtered out by those site titles. That brought me into the report. Filtered out by the site titles, so I can see how that site has grown over time. I had that site up. So we can go out, throw some files out there, see that growth. I can also filter it out by the title over here. So if I want to see what my demo group is doing, what their site growth has done over time, maybe my Office 365 team, it lets me see some of those growth trends. Same thing with webs. If any of you are SharePoint people, if any of you have seen massive site growth, this can help eliminate this where people start creating a whole bunch of subsites. It just gives you really quickly the site title, last modified, site URL. If I want to filter it out and see if it's a site collection or if it's a subsite, that's another property I update in the SQL database. So I can filter it out by that. And then I actually have last modified time. So if I want to see, hey, here's the subweb that hasn't been modified in 2 years, maybe it's time to go and delete that site because there aren't any items in the document libraries that have been updated since October 22, 2015. And then I created a nice list one. So how many documents are in the different document libraries? This one, you can see the URL. This project site has 252 documents in it. Some of these other ones around InfoPath don't have any. And again, the same type of thing, added some site collection features, some site title features over here. Oh, yep. Oh, this didn't let me. Here, I'm going to have to zoom in differently because it zooms in the browser, but not that. There we go. So there's some of that list title, those dates. Didn't it zoom in? Oh, it didn't. That makes it full screen.
There you go. You did it.
No. Well, it's bigger.
That made it full screen.
We can read it now.
How else could I? Oh, you know what? Let me look under here. It's readable. I was trying to see if there's a zoom. Here, no, I can annotate. So it controls, it zooms in on my screen, but the zoom, the WebEx zoom doesn't pick up that I'm zooming in on my screen. In the browser, so this is one of my notes, I can zoom in on the browser, but it doesn't, does that help? Okay. It doesn't zoom in as much on the Power BI stuff. All right, there we go. So a little goofy, but you can see it where, again, I have that list title there, list item count, site titles, the URLs. So you can go in and look at those various reports and see what's actually going on. Oh, that's bizarre. No, it's really tiny again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Moral of the story, Power BI needs a little bit of work when it comes to zooming.
You want to use Skype?
Let's see if I can get it to zoom in. Nope, it doesn't want to zoom in. It keeps resizing it. All right. if you want to see it in more detail, I can send screenshots over too of what it looks like. If someone's interested, just shoot me an email. I'll show you some screenshots. But that's that report and kind of how you can pull all that data into Power BI. So the way it works, the Zoom, I'm on a Mac. I need to find the Mac equivalent of that actually works with WebEx. All right, so let's jump back over to my SQL database, Azure. Here we go. So once I've made an update to my environment, if you want to actually run those runbooks, you can go into the runbooks, we can build a site index, and once you've published it, you have both the published ones and the ones you're editing. We'll start the published ones. Edit is where you have that test pane. So you can click yes, it'll go ahead and submit it. And then it has all the information about that job. So if there were any inputs to it, any outputs from the job, we're going to look at that and see if that starts spitting out some outputs. Any errors, this will actually pick up PowerShell errors too. So it's really nice because you can go into an old job that I ran. Let's go look at what I ran earlier. You can see there were 6 errors, and you can go in and it'll give you what those were. So this was a 403 error when I was connecting to one of the Sharepoint sites. So the user account I was using didn't have permission to one of the Sharepoint sites. This is a goofy, I can't remember what site this is. One of my sites isn't actually it's a different kind of Sharepoint site. I can't remember if maybe that was a communication site or something. But it will throw those errors. It'll give you the output too, so I can go look at the output. This one is just in a bunch of negative ones because all the sites already existed. If I go look at the reporting one, the output of this one's more interesting. This one again had some errors. The output though, you can see I send out a little bit of information as it goes through, what the site URL is. The one is just that it's updating SQL, the GUID of the site, the time it ran, the storage that it was used. So all of this is just output, but it's writing in all the SQL database too. You can go in, build out that report. And again, I did this all for Sharepoint Online. If there's a module for it, if you can go connect to it, you can connect to a remote Exchange Online session. You can connect to Azure AD. There's all kinds of things you can do in the runbooks to build out those various reports and build out some of your own custom reports that you may want for Office 365. So that is, that's building your own reports in Azure Automation, SQL, all of that in a nutshell. Again, there's a whole lot more you can do there, but that gives you a good overview of what you can do, what's possible. I also have a few resources in here if you want to look at some of the usage reporting from Ignite. Some of the announcements that they did have around what's new in usage reporting. This is the session from Ignite where Ann and Shilpi presented it. Scott and I actually had a chance to interview him at Ignite too, so we have an episode where we talked to him a little bit more about what they talked about in this session. Or on Office 365 reporting. And this is their blog post. Again, that highlighted a lot of those announcements from Ignite. I also have some other resources that I can include send you if you want to know more about Azure Automation. Again, the Azure workflows, some of the limitations there. Just let me know if you want those. And that's it. Thanks again for having me. I don't know if anybody has any questions. You can always email me too if that's easier. Shoot me a message on Twitter.
Any of you guys have any questions?
My I'm good. My headset's about to die. Yeah, anybody have any questions?
Well, after I read all this stuff, well, I figure they'll have questions after they go over the material a second time.
After they look at it?
Hold on, you read.
When you were rolling through your slides, you showed the phone connection to PTSN.
Yes.
My question is, how much does it cost?
So, that is an interesting question. Everything you need for it is included in an E5 license, which I believe right now are $35 a month. And then for the domestic calling, it is $12 a month. So to get everything you need, if you want to do it as the E5 license, it ends up costing $47 per user per month for unlimited calling. You can take an E3 license and get the features you need. I think it's $20 for the E3. It's maybe $8 for the phone system. So you're at what, like 28, and then 12 for the domestic calling. So you might be able to do it for as cheap as about $40 per user per month.
Thank you.
Not a problem. And yeah, if you have any more questions too, or you want to look at it more, I'm more than happy to talk about it. There's a lot of cool stuff Microsoft's doing with the Pstn calling. And here's that link too. Here, let me put this link over there. I'm going to update my slides on the fly so I can link this one up for the email address. There's that link if you want the presentation too.
The slides aren't coming up right now. There we go. Maybe you can send me a couple of those, I'll include them in the pictures on the website.
Okay, yeah, I can send you all the stuff, links, and
I have some.
all that. Any other questions? Office 365 related, doesn't have to be reporting either.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you guys again. Hopefully I can actually come up there and do it sometime where I can actually meet everybody. I like doing these in person, but it was kind of last minute, so we did this one remote. Hopefully I'll make it up there sometime and meet everyone.
Definitely, you're here, definitely.
All right, not a problem. Thanks again for having me. Shoot me an email if you have any other questions, and I hope everyone has a great Christmas, great New Year's, enjoys the holidays. And again, hopefully I'll be able to see you guys and talk to you guys later.